What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. Hasbro is feeling inspired. They're actually knocking out teams, and I'm totally here for it because I've been clamoring for years for Hasbro to actually focus, not just leave these teams in the dark and just kind of start them and then never get back around to them. It feels like they're making a real effort to knock out these teams, complete them, and we've seen a lot of work done just in these last few months of 2023. Yesterday, we got some Squadron Supreme reveals. We got Nighthawk, we got Blur, and they add on to Hyperion and Dr. Spectrum. And now today we got a 5-pack. I don't think any of us saw coming with a new West Coast Avengers theme set. And it includes two team members that I've been clamoring for a long time. So excited to get them in their more classic West Coast Avengers attires. And it's pretty exciting. And looking at the West Coast Avengers, the team is nearly complete. I'm going to break them all down. But first, I wanted to thank all of you all for supporting the channel, even if it's just providing comments and interaction with me. But I definitely want to send a special shout out to my super supporters, those of you who have been contributing financially to the channel. It means so much, and I really appreciate it. It's helping me do things that I really want to do with the channel, including getting figures like that Mayfex Nightwing. So I'm very excited to get that en route, and that is 100% due to you all. So thank you so much, and I'll have that review very shortly. But now let's go back to these West Coast Avengers. This is one of the teams that I think has been hanging around for a long time. They're not the biggest team. You can expand and go super wide, but really when they started, it's not a lot of characters. It's 5 Avengers who have experience, or 4 characters who have experience rolling with the Avengers. It's Hawkeye, Iron Man, not Tony Stark, but James Rhodes, Wonder Man, Tigra, and Mockingbird, the non-Avenger, joining up with the team. And they were really fun. I read the omnibus not that long ago of their original early adventures. And it was such a cool original take. And granted, the whole we can't have an Avengers team beyond this border of the US and the other team will take care of the other one's kind of weird, but I really love this team. I love the dynamics of them, and I just think it makes sense to have an Avengers spinoff. Hasbro's put in some work in terms of giving us and delivering us a West Coast Avengers squad. And if you aren't particular in terms of the costumes and the entire choice, we basically have a full team of West Coast Avengers. But it's nice to see them actually completing this team with the looks of which I most associate them as the West Coast Avengers. So let's break this pack down. So we're getting the Silver Centurion Iron Man, a Spider-Woman, Tigra. Those 3, of course, are repaints. We've already seen these figures, but they have some nice changes, some improvements, and I think make them a lot better than their initial releases. But the 2 figures I'm most excited about, of course, are Mockingbird and Hank Pym. And Mockingbird completes a team. This is the original West Coast Avengers, and Hank Pym fills out the second edition where they bring in Hank Pym and Moon Knight joins the team as well. And I love this red jumpsuit because this is where I first started reading about Hank Pym. Like, I was a real long delayed Avengers fan, and my first experience with the team was right around the time with Under Siege, and the West Coast Avengers, the East Coast Avengers fighting, doing a baseball game, and the Grandmaster puts them against each other in his Legion of the Undead. And Hank Pym looked so cool to me in this, with this red jumpsuit, being able to supersize any object and make it into a weapon and all that. I thought it was really cool. And I have been clamoring to get these guys onto my West Coast Avengers. So I'm very excited to see them. Let's break them all down. So first up is Spider-Woman, and Spider-Woman looks pretty cool. I think she wasn't necessarily a character I was hoping to get a repaint on because I thought the original one's pretty good. But you see here, got a fuller hair sculpt. That's really nice to see. She's got the much needed and improved bicep articulation joint, double elbows. That's really good. And you note as well the complete and total absence of pins. So really nice step up from this original version of her, which I also have. And I didn't think she was a bad figure, but definitely think the hair is an improvement over this one, even though they included a nice little wash there. You see no double jointed elbows, got the pins hanging out here. It was a pretty decent figure at the time, but this is a much cleaner, much nicer looking figure. And I think that hair really does do a lot for her in this case. Gives her more of a classic look, and This is somebody you can also throw in with your Secret Wars collection because I think this works a little bit better. It's a really nice addition. And here is one of my earlier West Coast Avenger poses, team shots. So you can see how much work Hasbro has done in the interim here. Finally get this Mockingbird, the more modern version replaced. Tigra is gone. Silver Centurion Iron Man from Toy Biz is also gone. And that leaves us with the Hasbro original Spider-Woman, the more West Coast Avenger themed Hawkeye, and Wonder Man. And Wonder Man is really a character I'm kind of hoping they go back to and do more of a West Coast Avengers one because he just needs a little tweak. He's got these red stripes here that can be removed. He's got these red stripes on his leg, and we get those off and add his jetpack. We basically have Wonder Man in his full glory. But we're not here to talk about him. This Spider-Woman looks really, really good. I think she's such a clean looking figure, and I'm curious to see how this hair articulation is going to work with her because you can see it's got kind of like a little shell area inside here, which might make turning her at the neck a little bit easier. She's probably not going to be able to do too many looking up poses or looking down for that matter, but I think they've included just enough that she can do more and have a better range than you might expect for a character with longer hair. Then next up, we have the Silver Centurion Iron Man. And I think maybe I'm just hopeful and wishfully thinking here that maybe his shoulder pauldrons are a little bit wider because I think that was a main issue I had with that original one. He just looked a little bit too slight and too small for this armor. And you can see, of course, he's got the more comic book accurate white as opposed to silver, despite the name. As I looked in the comic book, his mask or his helmet faceplate has black slots now, and it's no kind of vagueness like you see here with the Silver Centurion with the white eyes, which is kind of odd for it. I didn't mind the silver, of course, just like the gold for that original Iron Man 80th armor figure. I thought this was cool. I just really wish he was a little bit bulkier because that costume or that armor is much broader, gives him more of a big stance. You can see it here with the Toy Biz one. That there we go. Find it. He just stands a little bit wider, and I love the look of these shoulder pads here, this collar, the back piece. He just looks more impressive. But this one, I think, is really giving us a better look in terms of how he looks in the comic book. And it looks pretty cool. This set has 16 accessories, so I'm really curious to see what we're going to get with this. You can see here that these are the laser blast. I'm hoping that's all we have for Iron Man because I don't want this set to be wasted on a bunch of Iron Man articulation and accessories. And, I don't need anything else from Iron Man. He's got enough cool stuff and other figures. I can swap those parts, the jet exhaust, the Uniblast, the repulsor rays from other figures. I hope that accessory love goes to other ones. So I can see, the silver version look cool, but I'm not going to mind double dipping here, probably because I don't like that head piece. And I think going white with that just makes it look a lot neater and a lot cleaner. Can't see his eyes. So I think that actually works better with this armor as well. And you can see it here in the comic book look. That just looks a little bit better. And you see here, we can actually see his eyes. I wish they would do that a little bit more, but you can see what I'm talking about. This armor is just a wider suit of armor for Iron Man compared to some of these other ones. It makes him look so much bigger. Standing next to Wonder Man, he's going to look a lot broader. He just is a force in this Silver Centurion armor. So glad to see this. And here is a more recent modern Avengers, West Coast Avengers look. So we got this still outdated Tigra. You can tell when I did this review back in 2020, which is wild. Got Mockingbird here, Wonder Man chilling. So that's the original crew hanging out there. Nice to see them. Tigra gets a much better version here. And one of the major complaints with that original figure was what the heck they were doing with that orange color that they went for her. It was more of a Cheetos color, and you can see here this is a lot closer to more comic book accurate version, which I think this one is still a little bit more yellow, but in this one is a lot more toned down orange, which was really key because that original figure was terrible with that. Let me show you the Cheetos version. It's just so orange and it's like they were so close to knocking out things. Like her head sculpt's great. And you got a little fur on the shoulders, and you can see a little bit further down on her hands. I think there's some on the knees as well, but that orange color was just terrible. This one's a much improved version of Tigra. Got her tail going here, and it's really just a repaint for the most part. But one thing they did include that I was happy about, we get a better head sculpt, and not this one. This is the same angry one, but you can see the fur a little bit better. I wish they weren't so afraid to do her bust kind of the way it was, because Tiger was more of a voluptuous character in the comic book, but that's what it is. I really like the intensity. I think it's so much improved with this better hair. But here you can see how that old tiger looked. The orange is just popping way too much, but you gotta love that articulation. Here's the knee fur that I was talking about. So that's really, I thought she had great articulation. Note the biceps here, and she's got that articulation, pinless joints pretty much everywhere. She's really good, really fun figure to pose. It's just I could not stand how that color turned out, but this is so much better. And this hair sculpt here, this piece is so great because Tyra had really big, bold hair, and I think this one accomplishes that so much better than the previous version, which was a little bit too calm, too serene for Tigra. I mean, she was more of a wild character, and this is so much better. It's a big, big, huge improvement. So just love the look of Tigra, and this is a figure I don't care about the double dip because that old one was not good. So then we move on to Mockingbird. I'm not quite sure why they decided to go so modest with her attire, because her white portion of her outfit should go right about here and not so high up. That kind of makes her look like she's coming back from church or something. But got her staff here, and that's really nicely done. I wish they could have figured out a way to implement her longer sleeves so they could flare out a little bit more. During that same baseball game, Battle of the Avengers, she loses to Captain America because her sleeves get caught in this thicket. And Cap, of course, being the master strategist that he is actually able to ensnare her because of her sleeves. But I love this head sculpt. I think it's really well done. You can see the makeup here. You got the eyeshadow, the purple eyeshadow, dot matrix painting there. And I love this version of her mask. Really well done. Her hair is kind of swept back. I don't think I would have been upset if we got more of that ponytail look, but really cool. You can see they did a little bit of work here, giving her some exaggeration on the sleeves, but not quite to the extent of which I like. I'm really glad that they went with this version because that's more of how she looked through the duration of West Coast Avengers. But a really cool outfit, really well done. Way back in the day, I did a Jim Lee Huntress head and used her as my custom for Mockingbird. I don't know where all my customs have magically vanished off to, but I think I did pretty decent on that. But it's nice to see her. Here's what I was saying about that attire. The white is right down in her cleavage, so a big difference from this look. So I hope maybe that's something they can tweak just to get more of a look here. And you see the John Byrne version had a little bit more space between her gauntlets. You can see her staffs right there attached to the little metal portion. And that's a great look. And she has more of a ponytail. I'm wondering if maybe she's got another accessory with an alternate head sculpt, because that would be really cool to have more of a ponytail look so we could have more flexibility, more posability with her hair. That would be really nice to see. But this Mockingbird figure is really overdue. And now that we have this classic version of Hawkeye, now we can put those two together, even though that's not really how they look together. But yeah, you can see she's got her staffs. You can have it full length and you can have them separately and smaller so she can pull them in. It's the same staffs we've seen from various Daredevil figures. You can see the plug there. And I assume at the bottom here, we've got the connection piece. But I love the look of the flared boots. Really nicely done Mockingbird figure. Very excited to have her. And here's what I'm thinking Hasbro might do next. We did not get a Hawkeye in this set. And I think some of that was because there's still a 2-pack option, viable 2-pack set where we can have Hawkeye with his full sleeve looks here and a little bit deeper, darker purple and blue. And we have Mockingbird with her original attire with the long pants, the white boots, which would be a very viable variant for her. And that's a 2-pack just waiting to happen. And that's something that will work really well. So you can reuse most of these parts, just, switch out the blue for white. I think that's something they could do. And I would probably be happy to get this 2-pack as well. So you knew they weren't going to do a Hawkeye that just, when we got the Sky Cycle version coming, But it's nice to see that they left that version of Mockingbird on the table so we can still get that 2-pack later on down the road. But since we have a Mockingbird, since we have a new Hawkeye in the works coming to us later on this year, it's not as pressing. And I'm really glad to see that for both of these really cool, really great characters. So finally, we get my guy, Hank Pym, in his red jumpsuit era. I feel like I've been mentioning this look for Hank for a long time, whether in the HasLab Giant Man set, whether a solo release. I didn't care. I just wanted this look. And back when Hasbro revealed its tracksuit mafia, I figured worst come to worst, they would use this as the model for Hank Pym. It's got a red jumpsuit, so you don't even have to repaint it too much. It's got a zipper, and we're all set. And I just figured, well, Hasbro could use this, and it's not ideal in terms of matching up that look just properly, but worst case scenario, this is what we got. Instead, they went the extra route and sculpted a whole new set. So we got the pockets actually how it is in the comic books. I wouldn't have minded if the collar was popped out a little more, just like Wonder Man. But you knew that was going to be the case. And this is also not the same jacket that we have with Safari Jacket Wonder Man, because those had a W pattern in them right there. So it's nice to see that they didn't just reuse everything. Really cool to see. I think those sleeves might be the same though, maybe possibly. But yeah, I was really excited about this guy. I was hoping to get Hank Pym. I figured he'd be more of a HasLab option, but it's really good to see him in this. I assume and hope that he's the figure that has a bunch of accessories, because he can size up weapons and whatever to help battle alongside his fellow Avengers. I love this head sculpt. I think it's really well done. Doesn't make him look too old, but gives him a cool kind of mature look. And he's focused. He's the scientist. He's the grand inventor of these West Coast Avengers. We can add in White Avenger as well. We've already got a few versions of Wasp, so we can plug her in there as well. So now we take a look at this set, and we've got pretty much this whole team of West Coast Avengers for you. We've got Tigra, we've got US Agent, we've got Silver Centurion Iron Man, whichever color you prefer. Got an awesome War Machine, White Vision. I wouldn't mind getting a better version, but we do have him. Hawkeye, Mockingbird, Hank Pym, Spider-Woman, and we could still use a slightly more classic version of Wonder Man, but there we go. I thought in this picture somewhere there was Wasp, but I can't see her right away. So I guess artist Todd not missed her, but yeah, really cool to see another team complete. And we can go be picky and go, Wonder Man needs to have a longer mullet. He needs to have those red bands removed, but that's almost close enough for me. I mean, I can pose this team up and have a West Coast Avengers look that I'm pretty happy with. Now, of course, they could have included a Moon Knight that had more of the gold accessory pieces that he had back in his run with the team. And, we're just talking about getting the West Coast Avengers completed. I don't think I would have been upset if they had also done another character from back in the day who used to run pretty hard with the team before he rolled out. So let me break down this, show you guys this look of Moon Knight back when he was part of the West Coast Avengers. That's pretty cool. He's got all this gold elements. So I think that could have made for a viable update to him. And this is from that classic storyline that I was talking about, where the Avengers and the West Coast Avengers battled each other. But I wouldn't mind the gold weightlifting belt for Moon Knight, the gold gauntlets, bracelets, shin armor pads. I think that's really cool. And it's a nice look for him. So I'd love to see that. But there's another hero that I think would be also very cool to join and have, and they can do this just because of his variant options. Just like She-Hulk has a basic generic outfit that she rocks with the team, with the Avengers, that they could do just as easily for in a repaint version with the West Coast Avengers. And I'm talking about the one and only Benjamin J. Grimm, aka the Thing. So he's had several different attires, but he could do this pants singlet kind of version, his wrestling attire, if you will, where it's Fantastic Four, and then we get a Chase repaint maybe, where he's in this black, the red belt setup, where he's hanging out with his buddies, the West Coast Avengers. For a moment, the Thing was actually part of the Avengers. So That's another cool variant option for him potentially. Maybe a two-pack. We get the Fantastic Four version of She-Hulk. We get the West Coast Avengers version of the thing. So maybe that's something they can do down the road. Still a few more members left of the Wackos, Living Lightning, Firebrand. So there's a few more figures still left still for the team, but this is really cool to get so many classic versions of the team, a much improved Tiger, so I can chump the Cheetos version. We get Mockingbird, we get Hank Pym, and another distinct look for him. And we get an improved version of Iron Man. We get a better articulation version of Spider-Woman, and I like the head sculpt, so I think that works out better. I am so curious to see what these accessories are going to look like because I think they're going to add a lot more to these figures as well. So I'm very excited to see these guys added to the team, to the roster of the Avengers as a whole, more specifically the West Coast Avengers. Let me know which West Coast Avengers you want to see now, because we've got some big major additions knocked off the list. Hasbro is completing teams. So excited to actually see that. And I can't wait to see what happens with the San Diego Comic-Con reveals, because I feel like we've exhausted so much of those leaked list characters and they're still hiding stuff, and they're surprising new reveals like this West Coast Avengers set. So I'm really excited to see what's going to be in store for these next couple of months, because they have really been knocking it out. I'm back to being impressed. This West Coast Avengers set will be up for pre-order tomorrow. It's clocking in at $124, $125. So that's still basically $25 per figure. So again, the accessories are really going to matter in this case, because if it's just one accessory, if say Hank Pym just has fists instead of gripping, clutching hands, that's not going to get it done. But if they add in enough accessories, I will be okay with that. And there's another set that I'm okay paying that regular price, even though, as we're seeing with the Spider-Man Foes of Spider-Man 5-pack, they're going to go down a price, maybe as low as $87. I think that'd be an awesome price for this set, but for now, it's just going to be $125 plus tax. Let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Loud's Figure Files has been filed.